So this is going to be a construction on how to divide a line into n congruent segments. N means any number. For this demonstration we'll be doing 4. So the idea here is you're given a segment or a line segment and you need to divide it into parts that are all congruent. In this case we're going to do 4 parts that are all congruent. So it starts like this. You have your segment. First thing you do is draw a line above it at an angle that's maybe a little bit longer than that line, like so. Something like that. It can be a bigger angle. This is kind of a smaller angle. Next thing you do is take your compass, and this is an eyeballing part. You want to get your compass to about sort of an approximation of the number of parts that you need. So in this case, I'm going to set it to about 1/4 of the distance. Eyeballing them pretty close. What you do is start with the point on A, in this case, where that auxiliary line came from, and I'm going to cross that line once, then I move the point to that intersection, cross the line again. I'm going to do this the number of times that I need to divide the line. In this case I'll do it 4 times. There's 1, 2, and this is just stepping it along, 3, and 4. Now the next step, this last point, is an important one because we're going to try and mimic that down here. If you could imagine making a triangle with this side down to B, and then the original segment is 1, we're going to like flip that triangle and then flip it up and down and then left and right, so that this point will have a mirror image or a reflected twice image down here. So since my compass is close, I'll start with the distance between this point and B, and I'll set it to that. And what I'm going to do is come over to A with that same setting and mark an arc down below A and a little bit inside, like so. Next I set my compass to this distance from A to that furthest point. So I have my compass set to that distance, and I'm going to move the point to B and cross the arc that I just drew underneath A. So now this point that's above B is flipped and flipped again, and we see it down here. So we're going to connect that intersection point to B now. Theoretically, these two lines ought to be parallel. So if they don't look parallel or close enough to it, you might want to check your measurements or make sure you're going through right at the intersection points. Now what I'm going to do is set my compass back to this original setting. And from this intersection point, I'm going to step along that line that I just drew, like this. 4 times ought to get me right back to B if I've been careful. And that's pretty good. So now we have 4 arcs along these 2 lines that are above and below our original line AB. What we do is we're going to connect corresponding points. So this last intersection point will connect to A just with a ruler or with our straight edge, and just imagine those connect. Now these two, the next set of arcs get connected, and then the next set of arcs get connected. and the next set of arcs get connected. In theory, each of these lines ought to be parallel as well. But what we end up with, these intersection points, there, and there, ought to all be equidistant apart from each other and have split the segment AB into 4 congruent parts.